Hey guys, so we have the information on this week's Zenkai Awakening. They actually made an announcement on Twitter that they would be announcing this guy's Zenkai on YouTube. So this was something that we knew was going to be a little bit more grand than the normal Zenkai announcement here. So most people were anticipating an LF Zenkai, and that is what we are getting here. Unfortunately, the title kind of spoils it, but let's go ahead and look at what we got here. All right, so Evolution Blue Vegeta is the character who's going to be getting his Zenkai Awakening. A character I've been asking for to get his Zenkai Awakening pretty much since they started buffing Universe Reps. I feel like he actually is a pretty good fit for not only Universe Reps, but we have seen a pretty big push. Well, not big, but it's a moderate push for Vegeta Clan recently. So let's go ahead and pull him up here. Let's go Evolution Blue Vegeta. Okay, so his teams. So obviously Vegeta Clan, we have Saiyan, which I don't know if you're going to be running this guy on a Saiyan team. God Key and Universe Rep. So those are his three main teams: Vegeta Clan, God Key, and Universe Rep. Now clearly Universe Rep is an extremely good team. The question I guess becomes, what tag is this guy going to be Zenkai buffing? And I honestly think it could, realistically, it could be any of those three teams. It could be Universe Rep, it could be God Key, and it can be Vegeta Clan. I would not be surprised with any of those options. On Universe Rep specifically, if he did end up buffing Yellow Universe Rep, we'd have Master Roshi now getting a Zenkai ability, which I think would be pretty damn impactful. Master Roshi, the Mafuba, the Sealing ability, one of the most powerful effects in the entire game. If this guy ended up getting a Zenkai ability, which I think actually really would help him a lot, because one of the big weaknesses of this character is just his lack of defense. So having Vegeta not even necessarily being a character you might want to bring into the fight, him just being a nice bench option for this team could be really nice. I guess he could also be Zenkai buffing Blue Kaioken Goku, right? Another character that's a solid option for this team. He's still good. I don't think he's as good as he was, but he's definitely not a bad character now. And then in terms of his other teams, let's pull up God Key and Vegeta Clan here. So God Key, I mean, kind of going to overlap a little bit with Vegeta Clan, but we have Trunks and Vegeta, and this is the main character that I definitely see being the biggest recipient of this Vegeta's Zenkai ability. So actually, let me go back to Vegeta for a second here. So let's just assume that this Vegeta is going to be buffing Vegeta Clan. And the thing with Trunks and Vegeta is they only really get screwed in this scenario if this Vegeta is going to be Zenkai buffing Universe Reps, because clearly Vegeta and Trunks are not on Universe Reps. But assuming this Vegeta buffs either God Key or Vegeta Clan, he will actually be giving, what, like 75% blast attack to Trunks and Vegeta. So that would be a massive boost to them, on top of the two new equipment they just received and the free-to-play Trunks. So this past week time period basically was just a big push for Trunks and Vegeta to sort of get caught up with the rest of the game somehow. I mean, I'm not going to really call them up to the level where they should have been on release, but they're better than they were on release, obviously, if this Vegeta does end up buffing them with the Zenkai ability. Other characters on God Key, I mean, we already talked about Blue Kaioken Goku, Blue Gogeta. I mean, I don't know. This guy needs a Zenkai himself, but there's not that many other really strong yellow units on here, right? Yeah, and then I guess Vegeta Clan is the last thing we could talk about. Let me go back to Vegeta. I already have pulled up over here. So Vegeta Clan, I mean, yeah, not much here. Vegeta and Trunks are the main recipient here. And then, I don't know, free-to-play Trunks, Angel, Vegeta. There's not really much here. There really isn't. I think the best option to future-proof this Vegeta as a really good and solid bench character is going to be God Key, because God Key is always going to be the team that's relevant. Vegeta Clan will always be relevant, but Vegeta Clan, if you look historically at how they've handled the Vegeta Clan team, it's never been at the forefront of the game. Like Vegeta Clan, you can look at this team and you will never be able to point out like a time period where this was like a top 2 team in the game. They've never been there. And I just don't know if we're ever going to see a time period where like Vegeta Clan is the premium team in the game. Whereas God Key, it's much more realistic where this team is going to be dominant, right? I mean, we have characters like Gogeta Blue. We have Vegito Blue, who, guess what? Probably is going to be the 5th anniversary Ultra character that we get. We have characters like Rose, who's about to get an Ultra. We have Zamasu, who at some point will get an Ultra. We have characters like Ultra Instinct Goku. So there's a million different like Dragon Ball Super main, like huge hype characters that are on this God Key team. The new reviving UI Goku. This Goku and Vegeta, like one of the most hype characters of all time. This yellow blue Goji, like you can just go down the list forever. So I think in order to make this guy's Zenkai ability the most premium it can be, is to make him a God Key Zenkai buffer. Now, the only problem with that is God Key historically has been a strike-based team, but I mean, it would be kind of weird to say that like God Key will never have a time where it might be a blast-based team, because they sort of have been switching back and forth with a lot of these teams recently. Vegeta and Trunks, they sort of have been pushing them to sort of like lead the new blast-based future team. I don't think they've succeeded, but you know, there's I guess sort of a push by the developers to sort of have a lot of these teams have both blast and strike options. So you know, maybe it's not for a year, maybe it's not for 2 years from now, but if God Key ever ends up becoming a blast-based team, you have a Z ability like this in combination with the Zenkai ability where it's yellow God Key. Like this, Vegeta's the #1 pick for your bench, basically, at any point. 35% blast attack and strike defense are a really nice combo, because again, most of the game is strike-based. For Universal Rival Saga, God Key and Vegeta Clan, triple buffing the tags there. That's really good. I mean, this guy's going to be a really, really solid bench character. So that's pretty much how that works. Now, the only problem I will say, this is not specifically related to Vegeta himself, but it's more so to Vegeta and Trunks. I mentioned this a little bit in my Rose reveal video, but Vegeta and Trunks, I think with the reveal of Ultra Rose, I mean, the guy's holding a scythe. I don't think they're going to make him a blast character. So I'm assuming he'll be a melee character, and his main team will probably be Future. He'll be on Future, God Key, Powerful Opponent, and Saiyan and stuff like that. But his main team will probably be Future. Just because that's usually how things work out. Future has such a strong foundation for teams and equipment, stuff like that. So with him 99% being strike based, like this character just doesn't have a place on Future. So I think with this Vegeta coming out, with the free-to-play Trunks coming out to help this character, like this character is way more poised to be a mainstay on the Vegeta Clan as opposed to Future. Future, again, they can try and make a blast version of Future, but it's all the best equipment, all the better bench characters. They're all for strike-based teams on Future. And Vegeta Clan, you know, you have this character. Now you're going to release Evolution Blue Vegeta, potentially giving the Vegeta Clan yellow Zenkai buff. Like, that would be a really strong foundation for a blast Vegeta Clan setup. Okay, so in terms of Evolution Blue Vegeta himself, I guess we can take a look at his kit, and then I'll go through sort of what I would want to see here. So let's start off with the main ability. So the Ultimate Arts card, Limit Breaking Blow, heals. So the one thing I guess you could want is Ki on this, but this character is very unique because he has this mechanic. Where is it? This one line right here. Applies the following effects to self if own Ki is 35 or lower after using an arts card. Gets 20 Ki and he's building up his damage. This like little tiny section right here is basically what allowed this character to be good on release. If he did not have this guy would have been a pretty underwhelming release character, but this is such a powerful effect. It essentially gives you almost an unlimited amount of Ki. And I will get to the main thing I'm looking for in this character in a second, but you could argue that he doesn't even need Ki on his main ability because of this. Like this is one of the rare instances where like a character doesn't actually need to get like Ki on switch in. He doesn't need to get Ki on main ability. Like he doesn't actually need Ki at all because of this mechanic essentially giving him unlimited amounts of Ki. 20% special move, awaken ultimate damage inflicted by allies. So he's actually buffing the whole team's blue cards and ultimates, which is pretty good. The one thing I would make a change to on this is to make this longer. 10 counts. I mean, yeah, it's fine. But assuming they give him like card draw and stuff in his kit after his Zenkai, like this is going to be longer, I think. I think buffing this up to at least 15 15 counts would be nice. 20 would be ideal, but I mean, I'd take 15 on this. Maybe give this 40%. So I guess if I was going to be realistic about the changes I'd want to see, make this 40% heal, and then make this 15 counts for the cover null. That's all I would really want to see changed on this. All right, so 90% damage, 30% reduced damage received. The main thing I'm looking for is for this probably itself is not going to change, but he needs some other form of defense because this is just terrible now. 30% is awful. All right, so here's the big thing I'd want to change with this Vegeta. The one thing I'd want to change with this Vegeta is to make this 50. That's it. That's literally it. You just make this you make this go from 35 to 50, and I'm telling you, this guy becomes insane. I'm telling you, he becomes, well, not just the way he is right now, but after Zenkai with the Zenkai stats, with the other changes he'll get, like, you make this 50, and this guy becomes a different character. Because basically what this means is the way this works is, let's say you have, so the way it works right now, right, it's 35 ki. If you have 50 ki, and you are using a blast card that costs, let's just call it 19. If your blast card costs 19 ki, your ki is falling below 35 after you've clicked that blast card, which means that it's going to be giving you 20 ki when you actually use the card. So you're actually gaining a net of 1 ki from using the blast card. So you're actually gaining ki from using that 19 cost blast card, assuming that your ki would have otherwise fallen below 35 here. So if they make this 50, then that upper threshold would increase to like 70, right? So as long as you're like at 70, like 65 to 70 ki, using any card will basically result in you not losing ki at all, which would be so insane for this character. And it would make him able to stack a lot more easily too, because typically the way that this works is because this is set at 35 here, you have to actually use a few cards before you can start building him up. Because in order to get to this level of ki, in most instances you're starting at 100 because, you know, before you're attacking, you're just passively regenerating your ki anyway. You have to actually use your cards to get to this point. So in those cards that you're using to get down to this level, you are not stacking up your damage. So that's, again, the one thing I would really want to see is making this 50 instead of 30, 35. That's a really, it seems like an inconsequential change, but I think this is really, really important for this unit. All right, he has an anti-revive as well. I don't know if I'd really touch this. This is already a pretty good anti-revive mechanic. He gets type neutrality for 30 counts. This, by the way, was specifically given to this character because of the fact that hybrids back in the day was just Revival Gohan and then Red Gohan. So the way that they designed this character is him being yellow. They wanted you to use this guy to pop the revive on the Revival Gohan, and then you would have 30 counts of type neutrality versus Red Gohan, but it didn't really matter because Red Gohan just, even if you were type neutral, he just came in and killed you with one card anyway, so yeah. And then he reduces Dragon Balls by 2, which is nice. So this isn't that bad. I think this is a decent anti-revive mechanic. I mean, the only revive character you really see right now is the Green Goku, at least for me. So I don't really know how important this is going to be, but it's nice to have, I guess, for future purposes. He has a cover change against... actually, yeah, he has a cover change against blast cards, right? Which is this. What is this? Randomly draws one of your own cards and draws a special move arts card next. Oh yeah, so he actually draws a blue card guaranteed when he changes cover. And then he reduces damage received by 20% on cover change. Here's the problem with this is I feel like they're going to look at this and be like, oh, well, he gains 20% on cover change, so he doesn't really need much more defense than this. I hate that mindset. I mean, this guy is literally going to get one shot with this. He needs to have some kind of like, you know what they should do actually? They should make this permanent. Once you cover change with this character one time, this should just be a permanent buff, uncancelable. He should just get this extra 20% uncancel. Even they should just bump it up to 30. Give this guy 30% reduced damage received when changing cover, but get rid of until combo ends, and then make this non-cancelable. Boom, it's fixed. That's it. So he draws a blue card, and then he knocks enemies back to long range when cover change is performed against a blast card. Following effects occur when enemies switches characters while this character is on the battlefield. He draws a card, and then he also gets a 20% damage inflicted buff. So you want the enemy to be switching with him on the battlefield, which is fine. I mean, it's kind of like the classic Zenkai 18 mechanic there. The blast reduces enemy ki by 30. It's worthless. Blue card is the Final Flash massive impact damage. He actually goes type neutral on the blue card, which is pretty good. Right now, there really aren't that many good red characters. I mean, Hit is... You see Hit, like, I don't know, like 50% of the time, maybe even less, 40% of the time. So I mean, he's here and there, I guess. But Pan is one that you see a lot. So those two characters are mainly the red characters you almost always run into. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty nice to have, I guess, just type neutrality. He steals enemies' blast cards on hit for 5 counts. I think they should just give this like 20% damage. That would be fine on that. The green card randomly draws 1 new card, restores own health by 10%, 25% damage inflicted for 30 counts, which cannot be canceled or stacked. I don't know. They should just get rid of this. Why can't this be stacked? I don't know. I could not answer that. Get rid of this. And then reduces damage received by 20% for 30 counts. Cannot be stacked. Cannot be Yeah, this one I understand why it cannot be stacked. This one I understand. That's fine. I think the only thing I would actually change with this green card, again, because this character doesn't really need key, is I would just give him I would just remove this. Just remove cannot be stacked in the damage buff. That doesn't need to be that. I don't know why that's there. Ultimate is supreme impact damage, and then he gets 20% damage for 3 counts, minus 50% to enemy sustained damage cut. It's kind of weak if you look at this now. I mean, supreme damage obviously is very good, but when you compare this ultimate to a lot of other characters' ultimates and the buffs that they get on their ultimates, either this is like 50 to 60%, or this is just 100% penetration, right? The reason why I don't think they gave him that much in terms of his actual ultimate damage on his ultimate card is because he gains this. Right, this is, again, a supporting buff for the whole team, but that applies to himself, obviously. And then on top of this, if you do fall below the 35 key threshold when you use your ultimate, you're getting the extra 25% damage here. But I think this still needs to be bumped up to like 35, 40%. Either that or make this like 80% sustained damage cut penetration. One of those two things. But honestly, other than that, there's not really too much that I would like to see on this character. Again, the main thing is you increase this. If we see this guy's Zenkai information tomorrow and the updates to his kit, and this is at all changed at all to be moved up, that is going to make a big difference for this character. But yeah, I think defensively he definitely needs some help, because here's the thing with how defense works right now. Let's go to Universe Rep here. We have characters like this guy who enter the battlefield with 65% reduced damage received and still get pummeled. Like, this character is not a good defensive unit, but he does have a really solid 65% reduced damage received. This Vegeta has 30. And then the way you get the remaining reduced damage received is you have to then swap in on cover change. Then you have to use your green card. Like, there's different conditions that you need to fulfill to get this guy's damage reduction, which I don't like that much. Again, you make this permanent, non-cancelable, and then at that point, like, you enter the battlefield, you cover change with him once, and then you pop a green, and he's at like a pretty decent amount of reduced damage received, but I don't know. I'm a little bit skeptical on him there. This guy definitely needs card draw speed somewhere in his kit. I think there's no chance that they don't give him some kind of card draw speed in his new unique abilities, because he's going to be getting 2 unique abilities because he's a Zenkai character. I would very much hope that they recognize this character as a main damage dealing character. I say this a lot now. As a main damage dealing character in this game, you cannot be effective without card draw speed, period. That was actually a big point of criticism this character received on release, is that him not having card draw speed really does hurt. He has this, which is pseudo card draw speed. It's just dependent on your enemy switching. It's just a worse version of card draw speed. He needs just straight up enters the battlefield, has 30 counts of card draw speed. Boom. That's it. And then that on top of this would allow him to actually be able to chain together a decent amount of cards, which would then allow him to stack up higher, which would then chain into him having, you know, just way more damage at the end of the day. So that's what I'm looking for here. I just think there are a lot of areas where this guy needs to be improved upon, especially with him being a blast character. But him being a blast character and a yellow character kind of like cancels out his innate disadvantage to Gogeta Blue because of him being a blast character. He's going to be just dealing a lot of damage innately. His stats, I think, actually are pretty Yeah, they're pretty close. Like the strike to blast difference is only 4,000. So you technically could make this guy more of a strike character if you wanted to, but yeah, clearly he's more of a blast unit. So we'll see how they end up doing this. Let me know down below what you guys think of Evolution Blue Vegeta getting the Zenkai here. Hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I'll see you all in the next one.